Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of gold is put into tubs. It is then heated in the oven. After 10 minutes the melted gold is then poured into the molds. After a short cooling period, the huge gold bird, made from tons of gold, is now complete. They rushed to pull the trolley. They thought they could steal the gold quietly. Suddenly the guards stopped them. John rushed to show the guards the maintenance pass, but the guards still insisted on opening and checking. John had no choice but to open the case. Inside was a large red bird, because John had a plan in mind when he entered the prison. He had a plan in mind. He smashed the artifacts in the kitchen. He made a mold of the bird and filled it with gold water, and then he painted the bird with red paint, and so they were able to fool the guards. They left the prison with a clear conscience. The gang members happily opened the boot. The solid gold eagle stood there, but Amy saw something strange. She asks where John is. Everyone said they didn't know. Amy went to the trunk of the car and pushed the bird down. Everyone was dumbfounded. The big gold bird had turned into an ordinary artifact. John, who they had struggled to get to join them, successfully taught them a lesson. As they were all reeling from the loss, there was a loud bang from the warehouse to the side. The door of the warehouse slowly opened. It was a team of expert thieves. They were about to steal an even bigger prey. David is a prison boss in the Middle East. Over the years he's teamed up with terrorist groups, building prisons everywhere. The money he made from smuggling and drug trafficking, all the money he made from smuggling drugs into gold, he hid it in a heavily guarded prison. Their plan was to steal the gold from under David's nose, and steal all the gold from under David's nose. So they find John, who specializes in prison break-ins. They made an offer to John, but John didn't give a damn. He didn't care to work with anyone, but hearing about the hundreds of millions of dollars in gold, John was instantly impressed. He's always loved money and agreed to work with them immediately. But stealing the terrorist group's gold is no less difficult, not to mention the fact that it's hidden in a prison. The first step was to identify the location of the gold. With his experience and knowledge of prisons, John soon realized that the prison was suspicious. There was a laundry room in the prison, but he had to take the clothes outside to be washed. This meant that there was money hidden in the laundry. By comparing the structure of the prison, John and his team discovered that in the laundry room, there was a space underneath the toilet. The gold was most likely hidden there. The location of the gold was determined. They also had to devise a careful plan of action. As a heavily guarded prison, it's not hard to get in. The hard part was getting out. The experienced John clearly had a plan. If this operation is to go smoothly, if this operation is to go well, the prison must be unsettled. He planned to create chaos in the prison. He's going to use the opportunity to send the prisoners away for medical treatment, to hide the gold under a hospital bed, and get it out of the prison in the open. The plan to steal the gold begins. Tony posed as health officer, conducted an inspection of the prison kitchen, scaring the warden that the equipment wasn't up to scratch, needed a new batch in. The warden was afraid of taking responsibility. He immediately complied, ordered 2 of the latest units. Unbeknownst to him, this was all a plan by the Grand Theft Auto. A few men posing as delivery workers, they managed to infiltrate the prison, using the time to change the equipment. John was ready to make his move, but the warden almost hit them. Luckily John was quick enough. Even though he was able to hide in the oven, the warden wanted to try out the new equipment. This scared Tony to death, and with a few words of wisdom, Tony got the warden to leave. He also stole the warden's access card from him. Using this access card, John was able to locate the vault. But to get in through the front door, it's impossible to get in through the front door anytime soon. They had to find another way in. The 2 men quickly infiltrated the kitchen dressed as prisoners. They drugged the prisoners' food. 1 minute the unsuspecting prisoner was enjoying his meal. The next, they were vomiting. Everyone was throwing up and having diarrhea. The whole prison was in chaos. Look at these guys, how they stole the gold from the prison. First, they pretended to be workers and infiltrated the prison. They drugged the prisoners' food to cause chaos. Then they used the confusion to break into the toilets. And then they started to drill holes like crazy. They had already decided that the vault was down here. As a small hole was opened, William takes out his air hose and plans to blow the place open with air. At the same time, the men outside had already set up a car bomb at the entrance to the prison. The moment William detonated the bomb, both sides exploded at the same time. The car explosion perfectly drowned out the sound of the toilets. Once inside the vault, the first thing William did was tamper with the cameras. When David came to check the surveillance, he didn't see anything unusual, until he realized something was wrong with the cameras. He rushed to the vault with his men, and the gold was gone. Angry, David gave the order to stop all ambulances, but his men stopped the ambulances, but all came up empty. And that's when David noticed 2 heavily armed disinfectors, guided by these 2 men. David instantly realized that the gold was hidden in the disinfection van. He immediately led his men on a chase, from the city all the way to the desert. Unbeknownst to him, the man driving the sterilizer, Nick, the most skilled driver on the team, he drove the car all the way to the border before stopping it. Seeing that Grand Theft Auto was unarmed, David's smug face, he thought he'd won, but when he opened the trunk, he was completely confused. David had been tricked again. From the moment he entered the prison and saw the big red eagle, John had changed his plan. He made a mold of the same size as the big red eagle. He put the gold into a large stone pot and melted it in the oven at a high temperature. Then he poured the hot crystal water into the mold. A large gold bird gold was formed. He then painted it with the same color of red paint. Finally, dressed as maintenance staff, from under the warden's nose, the gold was taken away in full view of the warden. When he found out about it, David drew his gun in anger, only to be suddenly surrounded by a large group of soldiers. David realized this was the border. He was instantly frightened, and to add to his despair, Grand Theft Team had handed him over to a terrorist organization. The leader of the group is known for his brutality. There was only one thing in store for David. The next day, the news reported on the food poisoning, but not a word about the gold. Shortly afterwards, UNICEF received an anonymous donation of a huge amount of money. Once again, these master thieves robbed from the rich to give to the poor, using their powers to uphold justice.